Hi, I'm Catherine. Thank you for coming to talk to us today.
Thank you for having me.
What film really inspired you to get into film and why?
So I was thinking about this the other day and I thought probably Mary Poppins was the film that inspired me the most into film because it had music in it and I loved to sing, and that was the sort of path that I originally wanted to go down, and then I saw that on film, but then also saw that in film you can create so many amazing worlds with animation that you can't do on stage, and so I think that was the film that got me most excited.
You've had an amazing career. Could you tell us about some of your on-screen highlights, like maybe the person you've learnt the most from?
The director that I worked with that I learnt the most from was Lone Scherfig, who directed In Education. Because up until then I think I'd been quite sort of fearful of working with the camera because I was quite nervous of the crew. I used to think that the cameramen would be judging my acting. You know, it was just very self-involved, but I used to worry about that sort of thing a lot. And she really made me feel comfortable, and she really reinforced that idea that a crew works together to make a film and that no one is doing their job alone. And then in terms of an actor, when I worked on The Great Gatsby, Leonardo DiCaprio was amazing in that I was working with someone who's well known as being one of the most famous actors on the planet, but his dedication to every single take, whether he was on camera or not, was really inspiring. A lot of people, when they do film, they're brilliant when the camera's on them, and then when the camera turns around onto the other actor, they sort of do like maybe 75% of what they were doing before. But he gave 100% on every single take, and that really stuck with me as a commitment, because getting to work in the film industry is amazing, and it's such a kind of great opportunity, and seeing people who really take it, you know, 100% every time is always exciting.
Is there any movies that you wish you'd acted in?
Wish I'd acted in? Gosh, yeah, so many. The Dark Knight, just because it's one of the best films ever. No, there's so many that I just really hold so high, but I can't imagine placing myself in because everyone in them is so perfect. I wouldn't want to mess it up. Sense and Sensibility, Ang Lee, is one of my favourite films and favourite scripts, which Emma Thompson wrote. And that's just a brilliantly faithful adaptation of a book that I love. And I really love great film adaptations of great books, and it's a really hard thing to do. So a lot of those films are ones that I really love.
Is there a scene or a whole film which has been part of your career which has had a big effect on you?
I think they've all had a big effect on me in different ways. I've been so lucky to work in the last couple of years with just amazing people. I think Pride and Prejudice, my first job, had a massive effect on me because it introduced me to the film industry, and also that was one of the jobs that I did at the beginning of my career when I just had a chance to observe other people doing their jobs really well. My role wasn't very big, but I was on set all of the time, so I did a lot of giggling in the corner, but I got to watch a lot of really great actors, Brenda Blethyn and Keira Knightley and Rosamund Pike and Matthew McFadden, and got to sort of study them in a way. It was sort of my version of going to drama school. So I think that was probably my first film and also the biggest impact on me.
Is there a specific costume that really helped you get into character?
You know, I think costume is a huge, huge part of film and a part of prepping for a character, because, you know, the minute you put on a pair of shoes, it can change the way you walk, and collaborating with a costume designer and making those choices, I think, is really, really important. And you always want to do that really soon when you start getting ready to do a film. I wore a dress in An Education that was brilliant because it was sort of, my character starts spending time with these sort of slightly older, sophisticated people, and Rosamund Pike plays one of these women, and she's so beautiful. She is so beautiful, but she's wearing this amazing dress and she looks $1 million, and I'm meant to be 16 years old and feeling really uncomfortable. And they had me in this really high neck, green, sort of tweed, rough, tight dress, you know, with proper sleeves and all completely covered up and wearing like brown tights or something. And it was completely perfect. I felt kind of claustrophobic a little bit, you know, anxious, and also not at all sort of adult and sophisticated like the people around me. And so, you know, I was not that far in age from Ros, but the minute I put that dress on and she put hers on, suddenly, you know, the divide was massive, and it really made a difference to how, you know, how you move and how you interact with people. It's just, yeah, that one really struck me.
Is there maybe a script or a line of a script that has really stuck out to you?
One of my favourite films to work on was a film called Never Let Me Go, which was a book an adaptation of a book written by Kazuo Ishiguro. And so when we finally came to make the film and we put a voiceover over the film, a bit of the voiceover was her narration from the novel, and it ended with a kind of line wrapping up the whole story where she says, maybe none of us understand what we've lived through or feel we've had enough time. And I said that voiceover because we did it after we made the film. I did the voiceover maybe 18 times in various recording studios whilst we were editing the film. But I just loved it. I loved the writing and I loved the sentiment of it. It's just always stuck with me.
Do you have a new skill that you've learned that you favour, maybe horse riding or playing guitar?
I did learn to horse ride. Yeah, I learned to horse ride for Far From the Madding Crowd, which was great until I fell off quite badly 2 weeks into filming and had a really bad concussion for about 6 weeks.
No.
Yeah, no, but I actually loved it. I mean, not the falling off concussion bit, but I did love it. It was great. But you know, these horses that they use in film are extraordinary because they're so well trained. They have to use them in huge battle scenes, and you know, there's an amazing industry that trains these horses. So it was really cool to get to work with them, and of course they get, you know, the real riders to stunt double for you and do the proper horse riding that I would have been too afraid to do. But I did love learning, and I definitely will get back on the horse.
What's the best thing about British films and making films in the UK?
Best things about British films, they're just better. There's just an amazing wealth of talent in Britain. There's incredible actors, incredible directors and cinematographers and art directors and costume designers. We've got a huge history here, so there's so many stories to tell. And we've got a really kind of amazing multicultural society, and so that has so many stories. And I think we're really good at comedy, and I think we're really good at real honest drama as well.
Is there maybe a specific location that you really feel has helped you kind of live the part of the character?
Yeah, we actually, amazingly, I just finished a film called Suffragette, which is about women getting the vote in England. And we filmed a huge riot in the Houses of Parliament, which was extraordinary because they haven't allowed people to film in the House of Parliament for about 50 years now. So we were really lucky, and they agreed to it. And so we had a peaceful protest outside the House of Parliament that turned into a riot. So we had horses rearing, and we were throwing mud at cars and fighting policemen, and had all these extraordinary women as extras, and some of them were members of local women's groups, and so being there, really, that kind of, first of all, it felt like a massive privilege, but also really made all of us feel like we were, you know, living that moment again, you know, literally recreating history.
Is there maybe a favourite prop you've ever had?
Actually, on Suffragette, yeah, another amazing part of that film, we had, when the suffragettes went to prison, when they were imprisoned for campaigning, and lots of them were thrown in for, you know, no reason at all. A lot of them were thrown in for, you know, graffiti and things like that, and there were these women who would go into the portrait gallery and slash paintings, and they would be arrested and thrown into jail, and they would go on hunger strike. And when they came out of prison, they were presented with hunger strike medals, which were these little sort of silver medals with a drop of fabric with the suffragette colours, and you would get a bar across the medal for each time that you'd been imprisoned and gone on a hunger strike. And the factory